everybody. What's up, all of our Facebook peoples, all of Marriage Matters Today people? Come on in. Welcome. We're going to let you guys, we'll wait for you guys to come on in before we get started. Got some Motown Christmas going on, y'all. We don't own the rights to this music, if y'all can hear it. How many of y'all in the Christmas spirit? It's been a rough year, y'all, but hey, we made it. We have made it thus far. Come on in, y'all.
So it's more closer to where we really are.
Do what?
I have to open it up so it's closer to where we are.
Oh, yeah.
Who's on?
Let's see who's come on. Let's see. Oh, okay. Let me get this.
Because you got
How quickly. Oh, man, wait. All right. Okay.
It doesn't say who's on. Oh, you.
Hey, you guys, come on in. I don't know why.
Hey, Paula, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey. Hi, Paula. Girl.
We're about to get started here in a minute. Just trying to let some people get on, but we may not get a lot right away. They may have to go back and rewatch it. What's going on, Tashana and Kevin?
What's up, Kev?
Long time no hear from, brother.
They jamming. Rudolph, won't you guide my sleigh?
Hey, Chuck.
What's up, Chuck? What's up, Chuck?
Up, Chuck. Oh, it's about time, babe.
All right, okay. Okay, you guys. All right.
Miss you too, bruh.
Miss you too. We're just having fun. We missed you guys. We haven't been on a live for, I'd say, probably 2 months almost.
Close to.
I think.
Close to.
So, we've been, just trying to regroup and reset. There's a lot of stuff going on, and so, but we are.
Comments or questions, please share them with us. We really would like to respond to those and see your comments and different things like that. But today we'll be talking about what do you do when you feel disappointment in your marriage.
So first of all, we are Novica and
I'm LJ.
And we are Marriage Matters Today, and we are coming to you. We want you to make sure that you share this live with any and everybody that you know that that's married, looking to be married, just want to know a little bit more about how to increase their marriage knowledge or whatever. But go ahead and share this right now. Tag somebody's name in the comments. Go ahead and do that so that we can get some more people in here.
Right now.
Tag somebody's name in the comments that you think that would benefit from listening to this live. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you guys, we'll always be on the replay if you need to, catch us on the replay, but we're glad that you're here and we hope that you have some stuff to talk to us about as well.
Some of the information that we will be sharing with you guys today came from familylife.com and also romper.com.
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
Some of you guys know yesterday I preached about waiting and disappointment. So we thought we would carry that over some more today for our marriage lives.
Right. In our introduction, it says, seasons of disappointment have the power to empty us or empower us. The deciding factor is our response to our circumstances. How do you respond to disappointment in your marriage?
Right. So you guys, tell us, what are some of the things maybe that you've done when you've been disappointed in your marriage, and what happened, or how did you react, and how did that affect your marriage?
Now, in times past, I can tell you some of the ways I've used to respond. I used to be angry. I used to yell, scream, leave. There's many different ways that I used to respond, and those were not the correct ways for me to respond in my marriage.
Right. And some of the ways that I would respond with disappointment is I would disengage. I would draw back. I would be silent. I wouldn't be present. Purposely, I milled so many things in my head. I just was always in my head about stuff, which caused me to be even more negative, and not look at my marriage in a good light.
But see, one thing that we got to do is we got to understand that hidden in our disappointments are life lessons. Mm-hmm. We will view those disappointments as an opportunity to make greater strides in our journey of faith.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what they're for. You know what I mean? To help us grow, to help mold us, to help make us, to help us get rid of the things that are in this flesh, mm-hmm. and replace them with godly things.
But if we're not careful, the effects of disappointment can lead to our destruction. Steering away, it basically steers us away from our divine appointment to have a strong marriage, bear fruit, and live a victorious life.
Because God created marriage. And obviously, if he created marriage and he put you two together, he wants your marriage to be strong.
Right. Yeah,
he wants you to be victorious. He wants it to be fruitful.
Yep. So, how can we, why are we disappointed? Well, tonight we just want to give you guys some key factors and what to look out for that can contribute to your disheartened attitude or being disappointed.
One of the things that we can do sometimes is we can assume our spouses can read our minds. We can assume that they know what we're thinking or what we need or what we want from them.
Well, I mean, we've been together for so long, you should know.
Some of these things I do know, but before we got to this point, I didn't know them. And the only way I figured those things out is by listening, communicating with her, and listening to what she had to tell me. Otherwise, she was just angry and mad because she felt, or I felt, that she should know what I needed, or she felt I should know what I needed, what she needed. But that's not the case. We had to talk about these things, because you got to think about it. Sometimes we think that our spouse may be able to read our minds, or we think that certain things are common sense, like she should know this, he should know this. But you got to remember, we all come from different walks of life, so we all were raised differently. We may not have all been raised with a mother and a father in the house, or with siblings in the house, or whatever it may be. Some of us may have been raised pretty much poor. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Some of us may have been raised being well off. And so those things that we've come on to say, oh, this is common, common sense, mm-hmm. is not always common sense to the other person.
Yeah, I think that was like a big thing for us, is that, earlier on in our marriage, like, I would do things and LJ would not understand me at all. Like, he, maybe it took me 3 steps to do something, and it may have only taken him 1 step to do it. And then he just could not for the life of me figure out, why was I doing something this way, whatever it would be. And it was a constant tension in our relationship, to where I would always feel like I could never do anything right.
And that is true. And so I had to understand and come to the point to realize, so that I wouldn't be disappointing her, mm-hmm. is that I just had to let her do it the way that she did it. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm the total opposite. If there's some way that I can quicker or more efficiently,
hold up.
No, that's the truth. Tell me. I don't want to struggle and be taking longer time to do something.
So this is okay. So y'all see this, right? He already thinks that the way he does something is better and more efficient and quicker than the way I would do
No,
something.
I said I want to know. So even when she has things, I told you the other day, I said, if it's something that I, don't know, or something that I can do better and get it done quicker, I want you to tell me, because I want to know the better way. I want to learn how to get it done quicker.
I like to go through the process of things so I can know why I'm doing it, where I want to know the steps and the reasoning and why and how it all works. LJ's like, listen, let me just let it work. And
No, it's not let it work. I just want to do it. I want to know how it works and figure it out. But I just want to, Chuck, working with you, I may know how to do something, but you've been working in the wood shop much longer than I ever have. So you may know, there was many things that you knew to do much faster than what I could ever fathom. So I wanted to do it that way so I could get it done. And I know you wanted to too, because you don't like taking a long time to get anything finished. And Paula don't like waiting for it.
So Susan, she brought up a really good point. There is more than one way to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich.
There is more than one way to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You're correct.
And either way is not...
It's not right or wrong. Either way you do it. But if she does it and she's doing it faster, show me, because I want to know the fastest way so I can sit down and enjoy my peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
But you guys, so giving you guys our example and putting ourselves out there, this for a couple that is not fully mature in their relationship, this could be a contention of disagreement and disappointment and tension in the relationship that we would, for LJ and I, because we accept each other for who we are, we can laugh about it, we can talk about it, and we can giggle, and even if there is still a little bit of irritability in the whole thing of how he sees things and how I see things, it's not the focus. It's not the focus. We accept and surrender to how we are in our relationship to each other.
That's right. Chuck and Paula, I get it. We get it.
All right. So, we want to, one of the other things, moving on, because we only have like a half hour, one of the other things is...
we want to be in control. You know what I mean? You want to be in control of the different things that go on. And a lot of people want to be in control, because before you meet your spouse, a lot of times you are the one that's been in control all of this time. You've been taking care of everything, paying your bills, making sure your car payments are paid, your everything. You have been in control of that, of what you eat and when you eat, and all that stuff. Yeah. But now you come together and there's a battle there, because you both may or may not be feeling that way, or it may just be one of you, but you want that control. Wanting your spouse to fall in the line with everything you say or want will definitely lead to hurt in your marriage and disappointment in your marriage.
Right. So, you guys, surrendering is the key. Surrendering is the key. Like we were just saying, when you not only are surrendering to... So we're talking about surrendering to each other, but also surrendering to God.
I think that you have to surrender to God first.
Yeah. You
have to surrender to God first before you can even come to the understanding of what it means to actually surrendering to your spouse.
So when you feel times of disappointment about something that your spouse has said to you or have done or didn't do, you have to go to God. Not your spouse, because obviously you're going to go to your spouse and it's going to be more of a flesh thing than it will be anything else. So when you feel those moments of disappointment and hurt, you have to go to God. And you have to put that out there to Him to say, Lord, what my spouse has said to me really hurt. And I need to figure out how to get past this. Lord, show me in my disappointment what you're trying to do in me. Right. And so when you get that groundwork, when you stop and you surrender to God and surrender to His process of how He is trying to make you, then you'll be able to, he'll give you some word. He will change your perception of that very situation that you first thought was so disappointing. God will change your perception to show you more about how he's trying to change you, and then that will get you off of your spouse.
Right.
Now, with that said, once you have discovered that, and once you have done that, then there may be an opportunity to go back to your spouse and say, you know, what you said really hurt me. I felt this way about what you said. However, I realize that God is trying to do, you know, something in you. So you want to keep that line of communication open even after you have gone to God to work out that disappointment.
Right. You have to be open and honest with each other.
Yeah. So, you want to go to the next one? I was just talking.
So, the next thing as we move forward is we expect immediate change from our spouses. Listen, you can't change people. You can't change people. You can't change people. Only God can change people. Only God can. And that's only if the person wants to change. Right. You know what I mean? Because God doesn't make us do anything. So there's some responsibility that we have to take on in order to receive the change that God wants to do in us.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to want change. And it says you can want it, you can dream it, you can wish it, but you can't make it happen. Right. And even if the other person wants to change, and you guys have talked about it, and you say, oh, I don't like this about you, or I don't like that about you, and they agree to change, it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
You know what I mean? No. It takes time. And I think sometimes we get in a place to where we say, Lord, I don't want to deal with this because it's not happening in my timeline.
My time. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if we trust God and we believe God, we know that God is, He knows everything.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what he's doing to help you, to help make and mold you. Even if it feels like to me, Novica's not growing fast enough in a certain area, she's not changing fast enough in a certain area, that's God's timing. God knows what he's doing. Yeah. But what is God trying to do in me in the process, in that time being? Yeah. So I have to seek myself and find out what God is trying to do in me. What is it about me that wants her to change right now?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, can you guys relate to that? Let me know. I need you guys to talk to us a little bit. Susan says, no, change takes time. It definitely takes time. How many times have you prayed for your husband, ladies? How many times to be a man of God, to change different behaviors, and you just didn't see it in your timing, but after a while, can you say now? Can you look back and see where God has put people into your life, or something happened, an event happened that caused your husband to actually grow in the area that he needed to grow in? I think that is where how God treats us. You know, think about how Jesus treats us. How much grace does he give us on a daily basis, where he knows who we are. He knows exactly who we are, what we can be, the power that's in us, how we can be effective to people, who we're going to influence. We don't know. We're just going around, trying to make it and trying to, figure this thing out. And how much patience he has with us each and every day, knowing who we are.
Right.
But we don't. We don't truly know who we are, and we're trying to work that out. So now you have two people who are married trying to work that out.
Right.
And that's hard. But, as long as you guys can practice grace towards each other, just like Jesus does to us individually, you'll make it. You'll be able to tear down that, you'll be able to avoid being disappointed in your relationship.
And one thing also in that process, in praying for God to ask you, we know prayer changes things, and for you to be able to see it. we got to think, step back and stop and think sometimes and say, because sometimes we get to the point to where we've already let it build up and build up and build up and build up. And maybe you've went to somebody, a mentor or a counselor, and you said, I want this thing to work, but you really haven't let go of that build up and build up and build up. So you're looking for the change in your spouse, but you can't see it because you're focusing on all of the negative, all of the all those things. You're focusing on this disappointment. And so you got to stop and you got to say, Lord, give me the eyes to see my husband as you see him, to see my wife as you see her. That's sometimes we got to do that, because in this flesh dwells no good thing. And even though we've said we want to make our marriage work, sometimes we really haven't accepted that. We just want people to know and to see that we're doing all we can. We went to counseling, we did this, we did that. But you really haven't accepted the fact that you really want the change in your marriage.
Right. And that is so true, because you see couples like just kind of going through the motions of and thank you guys for the hearts and the likes. We appreciate that. But you see people going through, and if you think this is going to help somebody, make sure you share, tag their name in the post, in the comment section. But yeah, so you see people that do that, and they're just going through the motions. But if you want to make change happen in your relationship, you have to be intentional, and you have to take all that focus off of the negative and put it on the positive. The word tells us to think on these things. Whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are righteous and good and pure. So the word tells us that we have to think on these things to get our mind away from the negative. Because that negativity is where we can discord and disappointment and discontentment can rear its ugly head. And when discontentment in a marriage rears its ugly head, then that's a whole nother devil that you have to deal with.
Right.
So to keep yourself from that, you have to be intentional about thinking positive about your spouse. Be intentional. And so that is going to help us to get away from thinking that it helps us if we're intentional. It helps us to work as a team, and it keeps us from thinking that we're individual.
And this is not just something we're saying. This is something we have dealt with in our own marriage. You know what I'm saying? Having to go through that process of just being intentional about loving your spouse, knowing your spouse, trusting your spouse. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Getting to love your spouse again for you. You know what I'm saying? And we had to pray, but we had to be very intentional. And that was one of the things that we used to pray out loud together, and I would hear her say, Lord, allow me to see my husband the way that you see him. Allow me to see my husband the way that you see him. I want to love him the way that you love him. These are things that I remember her praying. So we prayed out loud together, and we had to be intentional about that thing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we are today. And we're not perfect. We still struggle. We still go through things, but we do it by surrendering and focusing on God and casting all those cares on him and trusting and having enough faith that he will deliver us through whatever comes up in our marriage.
That's right. That's right. That's the beauty of being in a marriage, is that both of you together have that power and that influence that can affect so many people if you do it God's way. Susan said that she could definitely relate. She said, I have to change my mindset to focus on the change I need to work on, not trying to point out my spouse's flaws. So again, like we were saying, think not on the negative, but on the positive and how you can change things going on in you. And oh, thanks, Juan.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So we're pressing, but we love to keep it coming. Well, we love to hear that stuff. But so another thing that we want to say is a key component to keeping from being disappointed is
no one's perfect, not even you.
That's right.
Chuck. No.
No one's perfect. Newsflash. We all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and we are constantly in need of grace. So, with that said, to keep from being tempted or to feel disappointed in our marriage, we have to seek God, surrender to the process, and extend grace towards each other. We know it's not easy. You know, it's easier said than done, but
it can be done.
That's right.
God, the power of the Holy Spirit that He has placed in us, there's power there. And if we rely and lean on that power to help us through these disappointments, these tests, these trials, He'll deliver us through those each and every time, because He knows what He's doing and He's in control. Sometimes we look at the situation as we messed up or we did something wrong, but that's not how God operates. You know what I mean? He has a perfect plan for each one of us. He has a perfect plan for each one of our marriages. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So He knows what He's doing. In that process, we have to trust it and surrender to it. But that's the hard part, is surrendering to the process.
Yeah. So we just want to encourage you guys to just think about these things that we've talked about. We know that disappointment is real. We know that if disappointment is not dealt with, that it can lead to discontentment, and discontentment can lead to temptation, and temptation can lead to so many other things like adultery and other mistrust things. And so we want to make sure that we touch on this and give you guys some tools and some ideas and thoughts about how to deal with this disappointment in your marriage. Again, these are things that we know that work for our marriage. We know that these are biblically based things that can work for your marriage. We know that marriages are different, and some things work for others that don't work for some. You know, we all have our different ways that, you know, we interact with marriage. But one thing that I know is that God's word is true, and it's true for anyone.
That's right.
So
and whatever that different way is, you and your wife or your husband, you figure it out together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You take the time to let each other know, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Let's figure this thing out together.
Yeah.
Because God knows what's best for us. Period. You know what I'm saying? Period. And this is just a little extra thing. She was talking about adultery. When you go through disappointment in marriage, guard yourself. Yeah. Don't go talking to the opposite sex about what's going on and this, that, and the third, unless it's somebody that you trust. Maybe it's somebody, even the opposite sex, period. You know what I mean? Unless it's some mentors of yours and you're going and you're talking to both of them and you're sharing this with them. Other than that, don't do that, because that opens the door for adultery in your marriage, for things that can really destroy and hurt your marriage. So you have to guard and protect your marriage. It's important. Yeah. God ordained this. It's very important. Yeah. What He puts together, He says, let no man tear apart, not even you.
That's right. And so that kind of comes with on family and life. It says, watch the fine line. Watch the fine line. If not tended to, disappointments can fuel depression. Face your disappointment, admit them, and bring them before God. Ask Him for a renewed perspective. We talked about that. Take care of yourself during this time. Treat yourself to something that nourishes your soul, and be good to yourself. But also understand that you are the most vulnerable during the times of disappointment. So take the necessary precautions. You know what tempts you? Stay away from those things. Spend much time in the Word and allow your disappointments to fuel your determination and empower you to possess all that God has for you.
That's good right there.
That's good. All right.
What's going on, Brandon? You got to go back and rewatch this video, man, because we're done now. But we're glad you chimed in. But you got to go back and watch it, man. Really.
It's so good. I'm telling you guys. I wish I wanted to type names in the comments, but I'm trying to listen to be attentive and, you know, listen to everything. So that's why it's really important for when we ask you guys to like put names in the comments, whoever comes to your mind, put their names in the comments so that they can, listen, get in on the live as well. But you still can do that. You can still do now. You go right now in the comments and type someone's names in there, and they will get a notification of our live, and they can go in and watch the replay. This is good stuff, you guys. And so we hope that tonight was something that was able to help about my singing earlier and all that.
Hello, First Lady. How are you? I'm glad you came in, but you're gonna have to go back and watch the replay. It is a good segment. So go back and watch that. We are finished for the day. But we just want you guys to know, trust in God in everything that you do, everything that you go through, all of it. Trust God.
Yeah.
And if you trust God, He will show up and He will work it out.
All right. Well, that's all we have. Thank you for watching Marriage Matters live on Mondays. I'm Novica. This is LJ. We are out of here. And don't forget
to be the one who loves the most in your marriage.
All right,
Love you guys.
See you later.